Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Chanel exhibits signs of radiation poisoning. Paulina sat behind the office in her office and gleefully told Abe on the phone that Kayla had verified that she was radiation-free. As Paulina ended her call, Chad entered the office. "What brings you then?" Paulina asked. Chad asked to Bambi a tip transferred to the paper. "This person claims that you abused your power as mayor and put the public health at threat," Chad said. With a boo, Paulina asked if the tip had come from J. Because he'd used the same language with her. "Did he J ask you to publish a mega-hit piece on me?" Paulina asked. Chad shifted uncomfortably. "I have not spoken to him in quite some time," Chad said. Chad explained that he wanted to skip the gossip and hear directly from Paulina about what had happened at Smith Island. Paulina noted that her son had gone missing in a snowstorm. "You left the sanitarium against your croaker's advice and immorally commandeered a snowplow to try to find her," Chad said. Paulina goggled at Chad. Chad asked for Paulina's side of the story on the record. "Whoever you got this tip from, I can guarantee you it's been blown out of proportion," Paulina said. "Really?" "Because I heard the firefighters had to wear hazmat suits to cover themselves from the troubles of the radiation," Chad combated. Paulina called the askers ill-informed. Frustrated, Chad told Paulina that he knew she had been advised about the troubles of being in close propinquity to people before her radiation situations had fallen. They were not down. "The firefighters checked," Chad said. Chad noted that Paulina had returned to the sanitarium in a hazmat suit. "My figures were going down. I felt the threat was minimum," Paulina said. "Also, why did not you notify anyone that you were leaving the sanitarium?" Chad asked. When Paulina remained silent, Chad said he'd talked directly to the megacity hand that Paulina had strong fortified into giving her the snowplow. "How did you know how to drive it?" Chad asked. Paulina explained that she had driven bulldozers in her former business, and a snowplow wasn't different. "So, also you do not deny that it happened?" Chad asked. Paulina started to complain about E.J, but Chad argued that the.A didn't count. "No bone. Is eager to libel you. The fact is, you left the sanitarium against medical advice, and you commandeered a snowplow. Notoriety could have been seriously hurt. Now, I know you say you have experience on how to operate that vehicle, but you were in no shape to do so at that time. Not to mention, you do not have a license," Chad argued. Chad added that there had been no guarantee that Paulina would have set up Chanel or that Paulina would not have been killed in the hunt. "But it did not turn out that way. Chanel is safe, and I am doing just okay," Paulina combated. Chad said the outgrowth was a relief, but Paulina had known it was dangerous to be around people while she had been radioactive. "There isn't a parent in the world who would not have done the same thing that I did," Paulina argued. When Paulina asked Chad if he'd have done the same thing for his children, Chad called the question illegal. "You know veritably well you would do the exact same thing I did, anyhow of whether or not you put others at threat." "Veritably minimum threat," Paulina said. "Minimum? Are you sure?" Chad combated. Paulina verified that no bone had suffered any ill effects. "However, why do not you ask my son Chanel if she would rather have been left to indurate in the snow?" Paulina asked. "If you want to write a fair and balanced composition about this." In the cantina, Everett aloud. About his last session with Marlena and how unnerved he'd been by it. Marlena walked into the eatery and said hello. "Would you mind if I join you?" Marlena asked. Everett said he didn't have time to sputter. "It will not take long," Marlena said as she sat at the table. Everett shut his laptop in frustration. Marlena asked Everett if he'd changed his mind about giving up hypnotism. "No," Everett said. Marlena jounced. Also she asked, "Why did you lie to Stephanie?" Everett explained that he hadn't wanted to make Marlena out to be a quack in front of Stephanie. Marlena raised her eyebrows. Hypnotism is a pseudoscience. It's slightly a step up from a festival act, in my opinion, Everett said. Marlena smiled. Everett noted that since he'd inked the divorce papers, he was ready to move on with his life. Well, I am glad about that for you. And in malignancy of your misprision for hypnotism, I suppose you would still profit from remedy. And if you do not want to continue seeing me, a quack, as you say, you might want to find a different therapist, Marlena said. Everett said he'd no interest in remedy with anyone. As I said, I am ready to move on, Everett said. Everett walked out. As Stephanie approached the bakery, she saw it was closed. Chanel ran into the forecourt, and she apologized to Stephanie for her belatedness. I slept through my alarm this morning, and I was the only one on the schedule to open, Chanel explained. Johnny ambled up behind Chanel. While Chanel ran inside the bakery, Stephanie explained to Johnny that she had wanted to pick up afters for a prospective customer. Stephanie said she had formerly had breakfast at a farewell mess for Tripp before his flight. Flight? What are you talking about? Johnny asked. Stephanie explained that Tripp and Wendy had decided to take an extended trip to Hong Kong to spend time with Wendy's parents. I cannot believe Wendy would have left without saying goodbye, Johnny said. Chanel returned and blazoned that whatever Stephanie wanted was on the house. I only got then 2 twinkles agone. I am happy to pay for my afters, Stephanie said. While Stephanie went into the bakery, Chanel asked Johnny if he could help her set up a display table. Chanel noticed that Johnny was detracted, and she asked if he was okay. I am fine, Johnny said. Johnny asked Chanel if she wanted him to go apartment stalking without her. Chanel encouraged Johnny to go alone, since she was still tired. Johnny admitted he was embarrassed to admit to landlords that he did not have a job. Perhaps I should have given my pater's offer a little further study, Johnny said. Chanel dissented. Pursue what actually is your dream, Chanel said. With a shake of his head, Johnny said the work was in Los Angeles and New York, and he'd no way ask Chanel to leave her mama and the bakery. Your whole life is then. My whole life is then, Johnny said. Chanel asked Johnny if he was sure, and after a moment, he said yes. Paulina walked over and hugged Chanel and Johnny. I do have a favor to ask of my new son-in-law, Paulina said. Paulina told Johnny that she believed D.J. was pushing a story for the paper about her trip to Smith Island. I suppose your pop is out to get me. Anything you can do to help? Paulina said. Johnny asked for details, and Paulina explained that after the fight, Chad had appeared in her office the coming morning to ask questions about the trip. It sounded nearly exactly like what your father said to me last night, Paulina said. Johnny apologized. Paulina said she abominated to put Johnny in the middle, but she asked if he could speak to Chad. I will, Johnny promised. Paulina encouraged Johnny to tell Chad that she had saved Chanel and that she had kept her distance from everyone. I was trying to be as responsible as possible. You both know that, do not you? Paulina added. As Chanel jounced yes, she started to moan and gripped her stomach. You okay? Johnny asked. Yeah, I just suddenly feel queasy, Chanel admitted. Chanel heaved and ran into the bakery. When Chanel returned, she said she had called someone in to take her place at work. You were tired history and this morning.